Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I like teaching moments, and we're going to get to an opportunity to have a teaching moment, which we won't do. Because, well, nobody really wants to learn anything. It's all about punishment and chaos. It's weird. Yesterday I was thinking, my God, I'm defending Whoopi Goldberg, who I think is that. First of all, that show is it's just awful, The View. But she's been suspended by ABC. They released something. She tried in every way, shape, or form. So if you guys don't, let's just back it up a bit, right? Let's just back it up. Now, I'm going to say this. I'm for teaching moments. I think boycotts and suspensions are stupid. But this is the world that we live in, and then everybody wants to point fingers. Well, you did this, and well, you should do it for this lady, and you should. It's stupid. We get it. We understand. The right gets held accountable, especially in major media, in a way that others don't. The other day, Whoopi on The View talking about Mouse, which is a book that the little place in Tennessee there, I think it was McGinney, said, we're not going to have this book here, this graphic novel. The only one that's ever won a Pulitzer, by the way. We're not going to have this here because it's got nudity and it's about a mouse and bad language in it. It's about the Holocaust. So she was trying to explain something.
Well, also, if you're going to do this, then let's be truthful about it, because the Holocaust isn't about race. No, it's not about race. It's not about race.
What is it about?
Because it's about man's inhumanity to man. That's what it's about.
But it's about white supremacy. It's about
but
going
it's
after
not. It's
Jews
not about
and
race.
gypsies
But these are two
Romans.
white groups of people.
And so there, she starts getting herself in trouble, and she starts going sideways. Then she goes on with Colbert, and again, it goes south. Then yesterday, so all the hell, the chaos, she's tweeted, she's gone on with the Colbert, all of this stuff. She comes out, she apologized.
I said that the Holocaust wasn't about race, and it was instead about man's inhumanity to man. But it is indeed about race, because Hitler and the Nazis considered Jews to be an inferior race.
Yeah, it was. Remember, it was about the master race. It's just like in the title, essentially, the master race is what they were about. She was equating everything to skin color. Like that's what she was equating it all to. Well, you're white people, right? Jews look white, so they're white people. And she goes on to talk about, well, if the Ku Klux Klan is somewhere and they see me and they see a Jew who's white, they're going to chase me, so I'm going to run. They're going to run by you, and not understanding it was about the purity of the race. It was about building a master race, and they saw Jews as inherently evil. So yesterday, Jonathan Greenblatt goes on, CEO of the Anti-Defamation League. This is all happening, kind of fast. And again, teaching moments. I like teaching moments rather than punishment. How about some teaching moments? There are times that you should have moments where, you know what, people are going to deserve something for it. But this is where a teaching moment comes in, right? So here he is, guy that's running the Anti-Defamation League.
Can you explain why the Holocaust was about race?
Well, Whoopi, there's no question that the Holocaust was about race. That's how the Nazis saw it as they perpetrated the systematic annihilation of the Jewish people across continents, across countries, with deliberate and ruthless cruelty. And literally, the first page of Maus, the book you were talking about yesterday, Whoopi, it opens with a quote from Hitler. And literally it says, "The Jews undoubtedly are a race, but they are not human."
Yeah. Explaining it to her. All of that stuff. Remember, master race. That's what they were after, an Aryan master race. You can be white, but dirty. You can be white, but you can have somebody in your lineage that's close enough to that makes you anything but the Aryan master race. It wasn't even just about the blood. Remember the look that he was trying to get, the blonde hair, the blue eyes, all of that stuff. He was trying to build the perfect giant world. He was trying to build, what you would go to central casting and say, give me 6'2", blue eyes, blonde hair, all of that stuff. He wanted a perfection with the master race. He wanted no blotches, if you will. So the chaos goes on. Last night, finally,
Calling Whoopi Goldberg's comments wrong and hurtful, ABC News President Kim Godwin put out a statement saying Goldberg has been suspended from The View, effective immediately. Godwin says she's asked Goldberg to take time to reflect and learn about the impact of her comments, and says the entire ABC News organization stands in solidarity with our Jewish colleagues, friends, family, and communities.
I'll say this again. I can't believe I'm defending anything Whoopi says. I don't think she's an anti-Semite. But what she tried to do was make it about skin color. And that's what goes on when you have identity politics. It's about skin color. That's it. It's about skin color. You know, when they talk about, well, you know, like Mexican is not a race. Right? That's the place you're from. That's not a race. I heard even Joy say something the other day when she goes, well, they tried to, you know, he even went after gays. Gays is not a race. Being gay is not a race. And when you have the identity politics wacky world that we live in, she was trying to point out, you can see me, I'm black, maybe you're Jewish, and you wouldn't recognize it. You know, I found out last year that my son did one of those 23andMe's. His mom did one for him for his birthday or whatever. And she's like, did you guys know that you're Jewish? I'm like, I have no idea. I didn't know. And I'm like, yes, on my mom's side of the family, we are. And I was like, oh, well. But if you see me, you'd say, oh, you're white. You're a white guy, right? You're a white guy. This is what happens when we lump everything into identity politics. This is what happens when we break everything down to your skin color. You're this, you're that. What she tried to do, she failed at doing. Then she dug in deeper. And ABC had no reason to not do what they did. Now they got to figure out what they're going to do. It's sad, though, because this is another one of those situations. Is could we have a teaching moment? Could there be a moment here where we sit down and we have an actual discussion about stuff and hash some stuff out for real? Unfortunately, these ladies probably aren't the ladies to do it. I just remember the other day, the Joy Behar. Well, you know, there's consequences. We're not a punishment culture. We're a consequence, and this is the consequence in this day and age. But they're also stuck between a rock and a hard place, right? Because they look over and they're like, man, we got rid of who? We got rid of Roseanne Barr. Right? We got rid of Roseanne Barr. What do we? Oh, my God. We got to get rid of her, but she's black. Oh, geez. This is where the identity politics is going to come in the battle. Do I think she deserves to be fired? I don't think anybody deserves to be fired for trying to express something of which they screwed up and there was no malice behind it. And I don't know, maybe she is. Maybe at night she goes home and she's Heil Hitlering things. I don't think so. And the people on the right who are celebrating think, well, she should get fired, this, that, and the other. That's stupid, too. You're looking for payback for something that is ridiculous. But that's what I expect from this world we live in. This is the divisiveness in this. And this is when we start telling people that you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. You put people in boxes, and this is what you get. Absolutely insane. It is. Look, it's an idiotic statement. She's a great actress, but she's full of crap. She's full of crap. People yesterday were going, I can't believe you're defending her. I said, I'm not defending her. Her statement was stupid. I'm defending the fact that she shouldn't be fired for something like this. You can use it as a teaching experience. And what she was trying to say is, it's about the look. And I look black because I'm black, and Jewish people look white. Not understanding there was more to it than that. Teaching moments. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the promo. A lot of stuff to get to. Tons of stuff to get to, including something you won't hear, but probably in some conservative radio and maybe Fox and a few other places, and it should be heard in a lot more. We're going to talk about John Hopkins' giant report that came out yesterday, and it is a big report about lockdowns and their analysis. Well, It's what everybody thought it would be. We'll talk about that. Brian Flores, NFL coach, suing the NFL over what he sees as racist discrimination against him and minority head coaches. And you know what? Very interesting and very ugly. And it's about to get uglier. We'll talk about that. A lot of other stuff to squeeze into, a little woke stuff as well. And it's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day. Did Puxatawny Phil see his shadow? And the Washington football team is not the Washington football team. Oh, my goodness. And they made a... Well, Phil, you said you were going to boycott them. Is that right?
I'm going to have to. That name's just stupid.
The name's stupid.
Although
By the way,
I didn't like
night,
any of the ones that they were choosing.
No, they weren't good. And then last night, that helicopter zoomed in and you saw inside this
And Theismann leaked it in an interview.
Yeah, they did not do well with this. Let's just put it that way, kids. All right, Car Shield, 24/7 roadside assistance. Rental car when you need it because your car's had issues, and you get to take it to the shop that you want to take it to. They get them paid directly. That's pretty awesome. That's why they're America's #1 auto protection company. You want to protect your car. You want to protect your wallet. And with cars rising in value, with the fact that people are holding on to their cars longer, many people don't have warranties, so you want to protect yourself. Now, you may not be worried about your engine, but maybe you're worried about the inside of your car. You may not be worried about the inside of your car, but you're worried about your transmission. CarShield has a plan that is right for you at a budget that fits your bank account. Check it out for yourself. Save big. It is simple and easy. If your car breaks down, you tell them to take it where you want to go. They get them paid directly. You pay a small deductible. They're going to handle everything from the payment to that paperwork and everything. Check it out for yourself. Go to carshield.com, carshield.com/Benson, carshield.com/Benson. When you do, you save 10%. Carshield.com/Benson. Save yourself 10% right now. Deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltways strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
The Olympics are underway in earnest. They start Friday with the opening ceremonies, but the games themselves have actually started today.
China on the defense, squashing any criticism over its human rights record. A Beijing Olympic official warning athletes forms of protest could be subject to certain punishment. Human rights activists going as far as encouraging athletes to stay silent, saying the IOC can't be trusted to protect Olympians. Reports of Chinese officials also cracking down on dissent on its own people, jailing critics or confining them to their homes.
Yeah. Several journalists who work, especially in Hong Kong, places like that, they said the crackdown in the last several months, and really it's been taking place, but it's really snowballed, is huge. But you hear nothing of the Olympics. Nothing. Yeah, honestly, normally you can't escape it. Normally, you can't go outside and not see a McDonald's sign with the Olympic things. You can't go somewhere and get a Coca-Cola without having an Olympic athlete. There is none of that. None of that. Because I think companies are like, man, that money's good, but if we sold our soul, right? Like if we sold our souls, one thing selling, them Coca-Cola as a product. It's another thing to do a lot of things over there in support of that regime. So there you go. NBC's like, oh, God, just what do we do? Nightmare. It's a nightmare that the IOC created. Enjoy it, kids. Enjoy it. I'm not watching any of it. Some interesting stuff we'll talk about, though, a little bit later when it comes to how many Americans born and raised in either here or Canada are participating in the Olympics for China. What? Yeah. See the Chinese hockey team. That's what it takes. I'm like, is that Chris Chelios' kid? Yep. Oh, my Lord. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Speaking of sports, They got a new name.
A new name gets announced today for the Washington football team after more than 18 months without an official identity. The team dropped the name Redskins in July 2020 after pressure over the name's racist and offensive past. The NFL franchise was known as the Redskins and its related logo for 83 years. Speculation over the new name ranged from the Commanders, the Defenders, the Brigade, the Armada, and yes, the Washington football team.
Which I would have kept. And the winner is producer Phil. The winner.
The Commanders.
It's the dumbest name in the world. The Commanders. That's your new Washington football team. They'll be playing at a half-empty FedEx Field. And they're still in trouble. And we're going to talk about football because football right now has got some serious issues. Yesterday, Tom Brady announces he's done. Right? So he did. Like the day before in his podcast, like, I'm taking it day by day. I'm not sure, because he wanted to control it. And then he does this big, long Instagram thing and people asking questions. Why no mention of Belichick? Why no mention of the Patriots? He's probably going to sign a one-day contract when everybody's saying with the Patriots. He'll do his big question and answer portion up there. He'll always be a Patriot. Yes, he won a Super Bowl with the Bucs, but he will always be a Patriot. He did all of his damage, if you will, there to the NFL. But the NFL, on this day of all of this chaos and craziness of he's finally announced it, what's he going to do, how's he going to be, they're getting sued. And they're getting sued by a guy who was a coach last year, by a guy who, through a text message, found out something that he wasn't meant to find out. And lo and behold, the NFL has a big problem on their hand, at least at this moment in time, not counting all the insanity that's still going on with the Washington football team. It is not a good look. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Shows here at Twitter. Got some woke stuff. And yes, that study from Johns Hopkins, 60-plus pages. It's not a thrilling read, but I did it for you guys. You can thank me later. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
In touch with the ground, I'm on a hunt, I'm after you. Smell like a sound, I'm lost and I'm found. When I'm hungry like the
Duran Duran, Hall of Fame nominee for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Eminem, Pat Benatar, Carly Simon, Tribe Called Quest, Kate Bush, Devo, Judas Priest are also on the ballot. Some of these people I look and I go, how are they not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? How is that possible that they're not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Like Lionel Richie? Carly Simon? I find that weird. Rage Against the Machine, Judas Priest, New York Dolls, Pat Benatar, MC5, Eminem, Beck, Kate Bush, Devo, Duran Duran, Eurythmics, Fela Kuti, Dolly Parton, Lionel Richie, Carly Simon, Tribe Called Quest, and Dionne Warwick are all your nominees. I think Dolly gets in this year. Judas Priest should be in there for sure. I know how Judas Priest, I mean, it's rock, right? Like, that's pretty rocking. And they're going to tell you got another thing coming. Speaking of another thing coming, once again, we live in a world of madness and chaos. The FDA and CDC and everybody's coming out. Oh, my God, should we get the kids the vax?
The FDA now set to consider whether to make Pfizer's COVID shots available for kids 6 months to 4 years old. The drug maker arguing in its application for emergency use authorization that it's an urgent public health need for the 19 million children currently unable to get the shot.
Will not be doing that for my daughter. My daughter's 3. She's not getting the shot. There's no reason for her to get the shot. She's had it. There's no reason for her to get this. There isn't. There's no reason for it. Go and look at the numbers. I think only 53% of 11 to 17-year-olds have at least one dose. And when it gets to the 5 to 11, it is like 80% are not vaxxed at all. And this is going to be less. There's no reason for it. There isn't. There is zero reason for it at this point in time. Chad, but they could spread it. They could come out with all the hoopty stuff that they want and talk about it. But the one thing that has been consistent throughout this entire nightmare has been, kids don't really get sick. They don't seem to spread it that bad. But they test positive. Testing positive means jack all. It just means another number. You still have states, a good bit of states, that have masking mandates for kids in school. L.A., Unified School District, the second largest school district in the country, not only has masking mandates for kids inside of school, they also have it for them outside while they're at recess and PE. All the while, there's 80,000 people at SoFi Stadium, including the governor, including the mayor of both Los Angeles and San Francisco, not wearing a mask. And you're still doing this because they don't care. And it's about what? Most important thing, power. New analysis by Johns Hopkins University. Now, I just double-checked to make sure Johns Hopkins was a real place. Because you don't know. You don't know. I'm like, is this one of those places where, like, you can go and you become a chiropractor, but it's in a strip mall? Like, or is this a real university? No, I found out they were a real university. Man, they got, like, a building and everything. So, what did they conclude in their large, huge studies in applied economics, a literature review, and meta-analysis of the effects of lockdowns and COVID-19 mortality? Well, they concluded they didn't work. Didn't work a bit. Did not work at all. But they kind of knew it wasn't going to. As did the CDC. As did the WHO. Because all of them, over the last decade or so, have done mock-ups of what may happen should something like SARS-CoV-2 or whatever made-up thing that they gave it, what would happen? Looking at both historical data and taking into account all the things that people would try to do, and those mock-ups all said the same thing. The lockdowns never worked. And let's be real. Lockdowns are different. I'm in Arizona. My lockdown, not as bad as California. Florida, they're doing okay. Texas, your lockdowns weren't as bad. New York, Los Angeles, some of these other places where people just lost their mind and their little power that they got, these bureaucrats, these health officials, these governors, this overreach is insane. They concluded essentially 0.2% is what the lockdowns did to save people. So the mortality rate was negligible. What? Yeah, it was negligible. There was nothing that we could have done. And they went back and they looked at historicals as well. They looked back at, I think it was Edmonton and Winnipeg in Canada, and what they did during the 1918 Spanish flu, where they locked down everything. Social distancing, no churches, all the businesses, but absolute necessary businesses were closed, all of those things. And through all of these things, and this just wasn't about North America, this was everybody that they looked at. And they concluded that at the end of the day, they could not stop it. We say something on the show all the time, and we do it sometimes in jest, but the reality is nature will mess you up. Nature's going to do what nature does. Nature finds a way. And that's what happens. They also concluded that things like our freedoms, right, suffered. Democracy suffered. Oh, businesses suffered. And this is just on the health side and the financial side. This isn't taking into account the damage we did to children with their education in those lost years, or the mental health side of it. And they also talked about, and this is something that I think is very interesting, is the fact that they say there will be some people that will use this for political gain. That's right. They said the average lockdown in Europe and the United States only reduced COVID mortality by 0.02 compared to COVID-19 policies based solely on recommendations of shelter in place. Top of that, they said, now, closing one thing did have an effect. Bars. It was interesting. Bars. Border closures. Virtually nothing. Oh, wow. Yeah, nothing. Nothing. Won't be talked about today by powers that be. It won't be. They didn't get too deep into any kind of the masking thing. The Atlantic has a new story out about mask and why it's time to get rid of masks. The Atlantic, by the way, whose best two articles in the last year, one was about trying to unwind power from local politicians, will be the hardest thing to do when we get out of this. And the other one is this one about masking, and where they essentially say they've looked at the masking across the board and says it doesn't work. It's detrimental to the kids. Masking teachers has an effect. Vaccines obviously play a role, but there's no reason for it, and enough is enough. But you will find people that will not give it up. You will find people that will not stop it. Los Angeles, Barbara Ferrer, she's the head honcho of the health, out there in LA County. She's even got people now that are pushing back saying, all right, we had enough. You saw what happened. You're telling everybody they're going to have to wear a mask at the Super Bowl. Nobody's doing that. People are living their lives, and which is a scary thing when you think about you're implementing a rule where people are going, pfft. Like you should think maybe. But she says, no, not so fast. We've got to be cautious. That's always, we got to be cautious. Out of an abundance of caution. Enough. It is time to move on. Enough. 70% of Americans are ready to get on with this. My friend here yesterday, he posed a question to me. He's like, Chad? And I said, yes, young Joseph. And he is he's got some comorbidity. Well, he likes to think he's got comorbidities. The things he has are not comorbidities, not anything that would take him out. And over the last year and a half, he's lost like 100 pounds. He's looking fancy. He is. He's got new clothes. He looks great. But he wears his mask all the time. He said yesterday, he said, I probably never not wear a mask. I said, well, there you go. Then. That's a you thing. He goes, well, I see that 70% of Americans want to get back to normal. I said, yeah, who doesn't want to get back to normal? He goes, but what about the other 30%? I go, well, let's see. Let's just break it down like this. 15 of those 30% are living in absolute terror. And while they'll scream, believe the science, they won't believe it themselves. I said another 15% of those people are people who do have comorbidities and need to worry, are people who do have issues when it comes to getting a vaccine because they cannot get one, even if they're healthy, because they may be allergic to certain things. So, and then you got the religious. I said, so are you saying that we as a people should essentially go, well, we have to, now nobody can have anything or do anything because a certain group of people can't do something. So rather than us live our lives and them make, accommodations for themselves, we have to, I said, that's not the way it works. It isn't. But some people will want that. And as long as there's opportunity for power, people are going to grab it. As long as there's opportunity to do things, people are going to grab it. As long as there's opportunity to take a situation, never let it go to waste, being COVID, and hold on to power and grab more power, they're going to continue to do that. And that's a frustrating thing. We should all be frustrated. We should. But many won't. And the media is not going to talk about it because the media is the media. right? They've got skin in the game. And the skin in the game is there's huge money pouring in from Pfizer, Moderna, and anybody else you can think of when it comes to advertising. And at this point in time, that money train's going in a direction that they're enjoying, and they're not getting off of it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. The Ukraine, which also, by the way, is not a race, just to let you guys know that. Apparently, we're going to be sending a couple thousand troops over there. I have no idea what his mindset is. I don't think anybody does. That's a quadrillion-dollar question. And where are we going when it comes to this? Because the Ukrainians seem less worried about this than we do. And it's right now, sending 2,000 troops isn't going to do anything, and it's too late. But the fact that he's sending 2,000 troops points to what everybody's been saying. It's like, yeah, dude, what are you doing? What are you doing? You could talk about the sanctions. You send them over the note that says, this is what we're offering. They say yay or nay, and you send them your final offer. And if they say nay, then you say, well, you're going to have to do what you're going to do, and then we'll do what we do, and we'll go from there. My goodness. Crazy. Rough Greens is not. Rough Greens is great. Speaking of health, take care of my dogs, and I do little things. Not for all my animals, right? I like to do little things. I want to make sure they're healthy. I want to make sure they're happy. I give them everything I possibly can, and then some. My friends always laugh at me. They're like, man, you do so much for your animals, like lizards and all that stuff. I say, yeah, because I want to make sure they're healthy, and they have the best environment, and that's where Rough Greens comes in for my dogs. Canine VitaSmart is amazing. A supplement goes on top of your dog's food. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all this incredible stuff, and what it does is amazing. It helps with their joints. It helps with their digestive tract. It helps with their fur and their skin. It has done so much for my older dog when it comes to his arthritic hips and his energy level. It's awesome. Right now, they want you to try it before you buy it. That's it. You try it. Not going to cost you anything but shipping. You cover the cost of shipping. It's a few bucks. You get a bag for free. Put them to the test. RUFFgreens.com/Chad. Roughgreens.com/Chad. Put it to the test today. Free bag of Rough Greens. You can call them at 833-MY-DOG-77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Serving up talk radio medium rare and dripping with irony. It's Chad Benson.
You know, I often wonder, who gets, how'd you get that gig? What school did you go to where somebody hired you? Because so much of what college is, it's about making networking and making connections and stuff. And I'm always amazed. I'm like, who didn't get the job? Out of curiosity. I'm throwing it out there. I just like to know. Even when I see people elected, sometimes I go, who lost to you? What are they like? We were talking earlier, the Washington Redskins are no longer the Redskins, and they were the Washington football team. I liked that name. I thought it was fun because it was just, it was so, generic, but it was cool. And coming from a guy who lived in Europe, played soccer over there, football team, the football club, FC, sometimes that's all teams are called, but they decided today they're the Commanders, which is super stupid, just awful. But Chicago apparently has gone one step further in awful. So they've launched a new campaign. So this is a campaign where they're trying to get people, to come, right? To see this is who you are. So when you watch golf or the Super Bowl or any of these things or any of these sporting events or whatever, it's what the Olympics used to be about. Is half of it was about previewing your stuff and your city that you've got there so people would come there, and the other half of it was previewing all the crap that your stuff's trying to sell. And so everybody's got it, right? Las Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Oh yeah, I've heard of that, right? I love New York. Cleveland rocks. Keeping Austin weird. So you have those. Chicago's come up with this one. Chicago, not in Chicago. That's their brand now. And as they try to explain to people, because you always know it's a really good slogan when you have to explain it after you say it. Got milk? Okay, that's right. Nike, just do it. So the slogan is the pro bono work of Energy BBDO. And it's awful. They're trying to essentially say, hey, look at all the cool stuff that the rest of the country has and the world because of Chicago. San Francisco and Los Angeles wouldn't have skyscrapers. And they go on and on. So then they said, okay, not only are we going to do that, we're going to now roll out videos. And the videos start with a double-decker bus tour of New York City with the first image you see, the Statue of Liberty, which for those of you don't know, it's not in Chicago. Did Michigan do this for you guys? Like, hey, man, we got Chicago now. Oh, God. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The NFL yesterday saw the GOAT retire. That would be Tom Brady. Man, it's crazy when you look at his numbers. Like, sometimes you can have debates like, oh, who's the greatest, the player, whatever. Like, NBA. Is it LeBron? Is it Michael? Is it Wilt? Is it Bill Russell? And you can have these. And we know, look, it's LeBron and Kobe are both tied kind of at 1A, and above is Jordan. When you talk about football, it's Tom Brady. We're not that. He played in 10 Super Bowl. There's been 56. He played 22 years. Every other year, basically, he was in a Super Bowl. That's insane. But then news broke later in the day of a situation that took place between the NFL and one of its coaches. It's a former coach. His name is Brian Flores. He coached the Miami Dolphins, and he's alleging some nasty, nasty stuff.
Brian Flores, the former Miami Dolphins head coach, and his attorneys filed a lawsuit today in a court in Manhattan that alleges racism in hiring from the New York Giants, the Miami Dolphins, the Denver Broncos, and the National Football League. He is seeking unspecified damages for the process that is well spelled out in this lawsuit that was filed today.
Yeah. Now, the NFL has some issues. They have been, first of all, they're on a massive resurgence. Not that they really went anywhere. I think we can all realize that looking at the numbers, there was 50 million people that tuned in to Sunday night's game between the Rams and the Niners. 50 million people. 1 out of every 6 American was basically watching that game. That's insane, right? When you think about it. In a day and age where we're very fractured in our media, the one thing that's dominated is the NFL and continues to do so. But the NFL is made up of predominantly African Americans. But when it comes to head coaches, there's one left. Mike Tomlin never had a losing season in Pittsburgh. Flores is alleging that, hey, guess what? I got screwed. And it all came and started to unravel, apparently, when Brian Daboll, a white guy, coach of the Buffalo Bills, coordinator, gets hired to be the Giants' new coach. Bill Belichick, text Brian Flores to say congratulations on getting the head coaching job at the Giants, of which Flores texts back and says, was this for me? And guess what? Belichick says, blank. No, it wasn't. You see, Flores was supposed to interview a couple days afterwards. So the NFL puts in the Rooney Rule several years ago. And it's, for those of you not keeping score, Rooney Rule essentially says a head coaching position, a general manager position, any of these big positions come up, you must interview at least one minority candidate. And he's saying, you know what? It's a bunch of crap. It's a load of hooey. And he's making a stand. And he's not implicating one, but many. And there are tons of more allegations coming. We'll talk about this. But Bill Rhoden, who used to work for, he's written a lot of books. And you'll see him on several, PTI and a bunch of these other shows on ESPN. He was a journalist for the New York Times. He's talking about Brian Flores and the stance that he is taking right now against the NFL.
Well, this is going to be very explosive. In doing this, Brian Flores becomes the Colin Kaepernick of black coaches.
Wow.
And it's possible he may suffer the same consequences. The NFL may do to him what they've done to Kaepernick.
Not if he gets a lot of support and right out of the gate, will he?
Yeah, I mean, he's really putting his career at risk.
Yeah, because apparently he was supposed to interview with the Texans, but he's named every team here, every team. Now, the NFL has already had their issues over the last couple of years. We've seen that. Between the concussion, which is still something that they're fighting as far as, payments and things of that nature and the cover-up and all of that, to the unrest, especially after George Floyd, to the kneeling with Colin Kaepernick, and then the mess that became, to domestic violence issues. Earlier this year, a NFL player got drunk and smashed his car in and killed a lady. On top of that, the Washington, now Commanders, maybe that's why they changed their name, or what used to be the Skins, as they would call them in the day, they're in a lot of trouble with several different things, everything from sexual harassment to race issues. And you saw, of course, out of those emails that they got a hold of, it implicated John Gruden. So there are serious issues that the NFL, I'm sure, is going, oh, God, what the hell is going to happen? Now, they've come out and they've shot it down. But it's not just this issue with Brian Flores. He coached the Dolphins last year, and there was implications about that, including apparently what the owner wanted him to do a couple years ago.
Explosive allegations. Among them, discrimination in Coach Flores' interview process with the Broncos and the Giants, and in his termination from the Dolphins just last month. Further, he says the Miami owner, Stephen Ross, wanted him to lose games on purpose so that the Dolphins could get the #1 draft pick. That owner, Ross, offered Coach Flores $100,000 per loss. But Flores says as his team instead racked up wins late in the 19 season, the Dolphins general manager told him the owner's mad that the team is winning.
Yeah. So the owner apparently was trying to get him to lose games because they wanted the #1 pick. That #1 pick coming into the 20 season would have been the likes of, you're looking at, there was several good quarterbacks coming out in the 20 season, including Joe Burrow, who went #1 overall. On top of that, there is an alleged incident where the owner tried to get him to go out and recruit a few star quarterbacks and try to get them to come here, which you can't do. That's tampering. That's called tampering. You get in big trouble for that. So one of the things where the NFL comes down on teams hard is tampering. There was supposedly an incident, he alleges, where Donald Ross, the owner, has a meeting set up with him on his private yacht. Come on out, let's talk about the team. As he's sitting there, getting ready to take off, and he goes, oh, by the way, it's going to be you, me, and remember that quarterback that I really wanted you to talk to and stuff? He's coming too. Flores says, blank that, gets up and gets out of the boat and leaves. Like, this is a nightmare for the NFL. And the NFL's got their issues. You got one black head coach. Tom Brady, your offensive coordinator is Brian Leftwich. Oh, right? So is he getting some interviews? Is he not getting interviews? Heard he got the Jaguars job, but did he get the Jaguars job? Then you go and you look over and you say to yourself, okay, well, what about, several other coordinators that are African-American, general managers, all of those things. This is going to get potentially ugly for them. And he has to know that this is, you're suing the monster. And in doing so, are you willing to accept that this may be it?
This is going to be interesting to see the effects that this lawsuit has on the hiring process. And clearly, Brian Flores had to think of all the fallout that would come with filing a bombshell lawsuit like this against the National Football League. Now, the National Football League has wanted Brian Flores to be hired as a head coach. At least we thought so prior to this lawsuit. But after something like this, when he's suing the league and all the teams in the lawsuit, clearly you would think, I'm not a legal expert, that would jeopardize his chances at getting one of these jobs. But he had to know just what he was doing before he filed that lawsuit seeking unspecified damages from the National Football League and some of the teams in the NFL.
Yeah. So this is going to, this is something they don't want right before the Super Bowl, especially with the fact that they've been on a roll. Stadiums were full this year. Attendance was big, but so was viewership. And the last several weeks of the season into the playoffs have been arguably the best weeks in the history of football. And now this. Man, imagine getting that text. You're like, I'm supposed to be interviewing them tomorrow, and they've already given the job to somebody else. Oh. And I've always looked at it this way. I've always wanted to look at it this way, and maybe I'm wrong here. Guys want to win. You're paid to win. And if you don't win, you get fired. If you don't win, you're done. If you don't win, and one of the things about the Rooney Rule, when they put it in place, it wasn't just about you have to hire somebody. Some guys, white or black, aren't ready for that step. But to get to a certain step, you need to take another step, and some of that is interviewing for other positions and other jobs to understand what the process is going to be like. When you are ready to make that step. But this doesn't look good. Doesn't. And they've come out and said, it's all baloney. So we'll see what happens. But everybody's like, well, what if he's going to get a job? I'm like, so you think you're suing a team and they're also going to hire you at the same time? I'm thinking no. Kids. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Still tons of stuff to get to. More on Whoopi. The insane thing that somebody from CNN said, which is weird because that sounds like that's an everyday thing. But this person about Joe Rogan, this was special. Like, that's a special kind of stupid that you have, ma'am. Oh, Chad. Calibrate. Losing weight. Vitally important in a day and age when, well, we're all trying to get ourselves in better shape, especially after all the stuff that's gone on over the last 24 months. I think people realize that, you know what? A lot of this stuff that's going on is preventable. I could be in better shape. And sometimes you're at a position where you're not looking to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds. You need to lose percentage of body weight. That's where Calibrate comes in. Totally different. It's a comprehensive, doctor-guided metabolic resets with FDA-approved medication. This is going to help your body get back to a place where your body feels comfortable at a lower weight. Your body gets comfortable at a certain weight. When you start to lose weight itself, it panics. And what it does then is it slows everything down because it thinks you're starving yourself. This is why this thing works so great, because you're resetting your metabolism, your metabolic reset, and you're making small life changes. They're going to show huge improvements. On average, Calibrate's earliest members lost 14% of their body weight. That was early. Now, well into the 20s. Think about if you lost 20 or 30% of your body weight right now. You'd be stoked. You're going to get one-on-one video coaching, video doctor visit, in-app tracking. It's easy to fit into anybody's schedule. And right now, you're going to save $50 off a one-year metabolic reset when you use promo code CHAD at joincalibrate.com. Joincalibrate.com. Use promo code CHAD to save $50. Joincalibrate.com. Promo code CHAD. Chad Benson Show.
Irreverent? Yeah. So what? It's the Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let's find out, see what's trending on the old internet. Let's start Google. Tom Brady, yesterday, retirement. Biggest trending thing of the day, not even close. Brian Flores, former NFL head coach, suing the NFL. Allegations, because he's black, of racism in hiring practices, as well as several other things that included having his owner of the Miami Dolphins. So the guy owns the Dolphins, and he's saying, hey, lose games. I'll give you a $100,000 bonus. That's interesting. See how that thing's going to play itself out. We shall see, my friends. We shall see. Head on over to Twitter. Lots of stuff trending. Let's start first and foremost with the U.S. soccer team playing tonight. Tweets are flying around. They take on Honduras in a World Cup qualifier. They lost over the weekend to Canada. They're trying to qualify for the World Cup. They missed the last World Cup, which is completely unacceptable for the players that we have and the money that we have. There's no way we should miss any World Cup. But I think we'll win tonight, and we'll pretty much be there. But still a lot of questions about that. Brian Flores is trending. Also, Whoopi Goldberg, suspended from The View after her remarks about the Holocaust and race. She's going to be out for 2 weeks. Usually in a situation like that, you don't make that comeback, right? They start with the suspension, but that usually means they're trying to figure out, how do I buy you out? And that's tough. That's going to be a tough thing. Tom Brady also. He's not just a QB with the most Super Bowl wins. He retires with $475 million in career earnings, a record haul for an NFL player while active, which is it's pretty good money if you can get it. I was telling the guys earlier, between him and Giselle, his wife, who's worth more than he is. She had more money than he did, which is why they always say about Giselle, she was the second most important Patriot, because of her earnings, he could afford to play for a lot less without worrying about getting his. But between the two, they're worth $650 million. They're going to be fine. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter. It's Wednesday. We'll do a little wokeness. Can you be an animal as well as trans? Yeah, wait till you hear this. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Whoopi Goldberg is suspended for 2 weeks. Love one of the headlines. Holocaust comment jolts network. It was a poorly conceived thought about race. And because of that, and her way of trying to explain it, and remember, identity politics is a massive thing in this country, the left doesn't even know what to do, because they're like, oh, if anybody was on the right and said this, we have to get rid of them. And you're finding more people coming out. Sean Hannity came out and said, I believe she's sincere. I said it yesterday. First words out of my mouth yesterday. In no way, shape, or form do I think she's anti-Semitic. In no way, shape, or form do I think that. So she comes out the other day and she's trying to explain that that this Mouse, which is a book, right, a graphic novel, only one ever win a Pulitzer Prize, about the Holocaust, and living in Germany at the time, and all of, if you've never read it, it won a Pulitzer Prize. But that it wasn't about race, it was about man's, hatred towards man and stuff, and that, she was trying to point out skin color. Really what it came down to, it was skin color. She apologized later on. That didn't go away. And then she apologized again yesterday.
I said that the Holocaust wasn't about race, and it was instead about man's inhumanity to man. But it is indeed about race, because Hitler and the Nazis considered Jews to be an inferior race.
Yeah, that was it. We talked about it yesterday. The purity of the race. Really? That's what they were after. They were after building the perfect Aryan with no blemishes. The perfect. They believed not only were they superior to what they deemed to be the worst of the worst in the Jews, but superior to everybody else. And they wanted perfection. So I think this needs to be a teaching moment. And I like that. I like teaching moments. Somebody screws up, let's learn from this. It's a teaching moment. And there should be consequences, but we're not into consequences of let's teach, you reflect, take a breath, and then we get on with our lives. Instead, it's punishment, punishment, punishment. During the show yesterday, Whoopi and The View had on Jonathan Greenblatt, CEO, Anti-Defamation League, talking about why she was wrong and why it was about race.
Can you explain why the Holocaust was about race?
Well, Whoopi, there's no question that the Holocaust was about race. That's how the Nazis saw it as they perpetrated the systematic annihilation of the Jewish people across continents, across countries, with deliberate and ruthless cruelty. And literally, the first page of Maus, the book you were talking about yesterday, Whoopi, it opens with a quote from Hitler. And literally it says, the Jews undoubtedly are a race, but they are not human.
Yeah. Again, she was trying to say it's a white-black thing, because many people in this country now, it's the color of your skin, it's not the content of your character, it's not your belief. It's a white-black thing. That's what she continued to talk about, because for so many people, that's what race is.
It's a problem. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, because black, white, Jews, it's everybody.
Yeah, black, white, Jews, everybody. She goes on to talk about, well, if I'm standing next to somebody who's Jewish and the Ku Klux Klan, unless it's Sammy Davis, and the Ku Klux Klan came, so here comes the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK, and they see, and they're going to attack somebody, Whoopi's like, I'm taking off because I'm black. And they're coming after me. But you're white. Even if they don't like Jews, they're going to look at you and go, you're white. But the suspension comes. And this is where I keep going back to, it's a teachable moment. We need more moments where we can sit down and talk, and this is how we get over things. This is how we get past the insanity of let's cancel somebody or let's get rid of this. The consequences are one thing, right? Now, this is always coming from the uber progressive left. They're willing to say we should open up the jails and let people out. But if you misquoted, if you said something in your thought process was different and you didn't quite understand it, that or you said something that everybody else laughed at, but one person did, that somehow you should all be punished. There's insanity right there. In this crazy woke world, doesn't get any weirder, wackier, and insane than that. She doesn't deserve to be fired unless you want to get rid of her because her salary's too big and they're not doing something. There's always that kind of weird game of like, oh, I'm glad, because we wanted to find out a way to get rid of her. For all of the uproar over, was it Megyn Kelly? If you read into so much of what that stuff was about, it was the fact that they brought her over from Fox and her numbers were abysmal. They didn't know what to do with her. And they saw an option when things started to go south to just buy her out at a fraction of what they were going to have to pay her. That played a part in it. And people out there who want her held accountable, I get frustrated too. Do I think people should be tossed away on the scrap heap of life because they've said something that is now deemed offensive? They tweeted something 10 years ago that is now deemed offensive? It's indefensible now? It's indefensible. You can't defend. Well, I didn't have to back then. It wasn't, but you guys have taken. We've moved. We moved the goalposts. We move. You're not in the right place. I can't go back in time. This is one of those things where she said something stupid. I believe she's contrite. I believe she's sorry. I don't think she deserves to be fired. Unless she is a raging anti-Semite. Maybe we're going to find out later on that at night she goes home and she puts on the old Hugo Boss outfits that they made back in the day, and she marches around in a room watching those Hitler shows on the military channel, but stopping at where he starts to get destroyed. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. We're also talking about, speaking of race, Brian Flores, who's the coach or was the coach of the Miami Dolphins, suing the NFL for racial discrimination when it comes to hiring practices and many other things. He today was on CBS this morning speaking about it for the first time. This comes on the heels yesterday of really over the last several weeks of arguably the greatest time in football that we can remember. Ratings are through the roof. Stadiums are packed. The Super Bowl is 12 days away or something like that. And lo and behold, out comes this on the heels of Tom Brady retiring. And oh my God, he's this, that, and the other. All of a sudden, massive lawsuit with huge accusations. And he's speaking about it for the first time.
It's been a tough 24 hours. Before I interviewed, I received a text message from Bill Belichick saying congratulations on the Giants, essentially congratulations on the Giants job. There was some back and forth and
some confusion because you haven't sat down with the Giants yet.
I have not sat down with the Giants. There was some back and forth, and I asked him, "Is this, you talking to the right Brian?" As you've seen through the text messages, he was actually thought he was texting Brian Daboll,
who they ended up hiring.
Yes, sir.
So at that point, how did that make you feel, knowing that you were walking into an interview where a decision might have already been made?
It was a range of emotions.
Yeah. You think? I often wondered yesterday, and I was reading some of this, I'm like, did Belichick do that on purpose because he wanted stuff to get out? That's a Belichickian thing to do. I'm like, go find out who, and it was against the Giants? Who beat them in the Super Bowl twice? Oh, the Giants! So Belichick move. But imagine you think you're going for an interview for a job. You've already been a head coach. The Rooney Rule, which they talk about, they put in place, and we touched on a little bit earlier, was put there to make sure that minorities had opportunities to interview for jobs. Not that they were guaranteed jobs, but they were to interview for jobs. Like head coach, I think defensive coordinator, general manager, things of that nature. Some of it wasn't so you go and you hire somebody, but it was also really a lot of it was about you being in that first situation where you're interviewing for something that you may not be ready for, but you're going to get a sense of what it's going to be like to go through the process when you are ready. And this guy was a head coach, and he gets a text message congratulating him, only to find out it's the wrong Brian. He still has an interview with the team. Imagine go to an interview today where your friends already got the job or somebody you know already has the job, and they're only doing this as a favor, and no matter what you do, it doesn't matter.
Humiliation disbelief, anger. I've worked so hard to get to where I am in football, to become a head coach. Put 18 years in this league, and it was to go on what was going to be what felt like, or what was a sham interview. I was hurt. And,
but you went knowing that you probably weren't going to get it.
I did.
Why did you continue to go?
There's still hope.
There is still hope. And you really don't want the job anyways. I don't know if you see the Giants. They're an absolute mess. But you went anyway. He also talked about some of the other chaos, including the fact that he alleges that John Elway was hammered during the interview process for the Denver job.
Look, I love coaching. I'm gifted to coach. I know that. And the relationships I've built with players, coaches, support staff, I'm gifted to coach, and I love coaching, and I want to coach. But this is bigger than coaching.
Of course.
This is much bigger than coaching.
It is. In the NFL, with Colin Kaepernick and this, you've got one black head coach in the NFL, Mike Tomlin, at Pittsburgh. It's not a good look for the NFL. It's not a good look at all for the NFL. And I think he's right. It is more than just about coaching. And you've also been put in a position where I think he still has an interview with the Texans left, where you're suing all of the teams, and that includes maybe one or two of the teams you might be interviewing with. That's a tough place to be. But he feels like this is the stand I need to make, and I'm going to make it. And the NFL's disputed this already, said it's a bunch of hooey, malarkey, as the president would say. But I look at track record. I do. I look at track record. And your track record, not just on, I'm taking out Colin Kaepernick, right? Because he was a lightning rod for controversy as much as anything else. How much did he really want to play? And how much was he about him and himself and being a social justice warrior? We can talk about certain things, but concussions, the stuff that's going on with the Washington Commandos, that if you guys don't know, they changed their name today. It's officially the Commandos, or the Commanders, or whatever the hell they're called. Who knows? It's awful. And the race issues when it came to some of the emails between them and John Gruden, there are issues here. And the NFL's got some splaining to do, and especially when you've got end racism on your helmets and you woked it up for a couple years. Yeah, that's shows you, though, how much virtue signaling is in many ways just so much a waste of time. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. We're going to do a little wokeness coming straight up. First, Nutrisystem. Losing weight should be easier than it is. Sometimes you need to lose 20, 30, 40 pounds. You're not in bad shape, but you want to get down, guys. Let's be real. Summer, not too far away. You see spring, right? You get ready. You're like, I like to have a summer bod, Chad. What can you do for me? Nutrisystem, 50% off right now. And I'm telling you, it's easy, guys. Guys, it's easy. 50% off at Nutrisystem.com/chat. The food is delicious, right? Like, nobody wants to go on a diet where the food sucks. But many times we're like, all I'm allowed to have is one apple every 3 days and a Tic Tac. No. Some of these new premium meals have up to 30 grams of protein, filling, tasty, delicious. You want to get in that position where you're thinking, I'm going to take my shirt off this year at the pool, and it's going to be all right. I'm not scare kids. It's going to be okay. That's what it's about with Nutrisystem. Eating good food with portion control, scientific nutrition, the way that they've done it. So they've advanced nutrition with science, put them together. What do they get? They've got an amazing set of meals that's going to help you balance your blood sugar levels, which will help you keep losing weight. And the food is delicious. Easy. Comes straight to you. You got breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, all kinds of stuff. Beef and bean burritos. You got sesame beef and broccoli. Yesterday, I had chicken and dumplings. What? You will love it. 50% off right now. Nutrisystem.com/Chad saves you 50%. Nutrisystem.com/Chad. Go there now. Save big. Results vary. Offer restrictions apply. See website for details. Chad Benson Show.
If you like talk radio like Chad Benson likes his meals, you've come to the perfect place for takeout.
We like to get woke on Wednesdays. We do that because we care about you. We want to let you guys know there's insanity out there. This is a lady. I think her name is Dia? I don't know. She is a transgendered woman. So got to put that out there. But she doesn't stop at just being a woman because she can't anymore. She has moved on from that plane at times because, well, she's, as you would be, she's a wolf.
So a Therian is somebody who believes that they are a non-human animal on a personal, integral level. Now, this isn't to say that we're delusional. I don't physically believe that I'm a wolf. It's more of like a spiritual and psychological identification as a wolf.
So at least she's grounded in reality about a wolf. She's a Seattle woman who is not just any wolf. She's a wolf from British Columbia, apparently. Oh, God. How did we get here? How did we get here? I'm curious. We're saying off the air. When you're little, right? Your mom and dad, well, I don't know, but some people's like, you can be anything you want in life. Well, they meant that, like, you want to be president? You could be president one day. You want to be, you want to be a rocket scientist or whatever you want. You could be. Now it's like, literally, you could be anything.
So I'm completely aware I'm human, right? Like I go to work every day. I don't, necessarily dress like this to work. But at the same token, spiritually, somehow I'm a wolf.
I'm like, there's no more of these people, are there? Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? There's plenty of them.
Aramon van Rehemdolf is a leader in the theory.
There's no way that's his real name. There's no way that's his real name.
Aramon van Rehemdolf is a leader in the Therian community. He identifies as both vampire and Therian, but today he's here to shed light on Therians. He tells us his identity is a wolf and a raven.
When we go through our awakening, it's brought upon by a kind of a bond with a specific animal. It could be either at a zoo or out in the wild. For most Therians, we have when we shift, which we get an animalistic instincts, sixth sense, heightened senses, like that whole hair on the back of your neck. That sensation gets a little stronger.
Insane. That's what we used to call it when I was a kid. Difference between a great imagination and the fact that you truly believe you're a wolf. Who are we to argue, though, right? We got to champion everybody in their cause. That's wokeness for you, kids. They have left reality. We wish you all the luck in your hunting. Part raven, part wolf. How does one come to grips with that? That's the person serving you at Starbucks. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program, Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Man, all kinds of stuff going on. Where do we start today? Let's start with John Kirby and what we're doing when it comes to the Ukraine.
All of these forces are separate and in addition to the 8,500 personnel in the United States on heightened alert posture.
Heightened alert posture. Yeah, we're sending troops over, which is weird. We're increasing troops. Some 2,000 to 3,000. We've got ones on heightened alert. Heightened. Again, the Ukraine seems to care less about what's going on at their border. And there's two things going on at the border I don't think a lot of people understand. So you have Russia sitting there with all of their might. So they're there. And then you also have Russian separatists who are fighting with the Ukrainian army. And in that war, there's been some 14,000 deaths. So there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's not good. But inside a place like Kiev, large city, people, they don't seem to have the same kind of worry that Our president does. So where are we going with this? I don't know. You put some sanctions on, maybe a little too late for that. You can discuss it somewhat with him and say, hey, look, here's the deal, bro. Call him bro. It's always good. You know, a little report. What's up, bro? Hey, Pooter, here's our final offer. Right, Larry Knopf, take this back to your master. Here's our final offer. If you invade, we're coming after individuals within the oligarch, including your leader, the Pooter, personally. We're going to freeze every dime they have. We're going to make it absolutely, absolutely awful on their businesses, their banking. If you do anything at all. And the Pooter wants something. We know that. He wants something. He wants some sort of capitulation so he can go back and go, look, I got them to blink. But we'll be moving some troops, and others will be on heightened alert. Heightened alert. All this on the heels of the job numbers, which yesterday, by the way, were awful. As they started to slowly leak out. Jen Psaki was out there. It's like, well, you know, the Omicron, all this stuff. The expected private payrolls. They were expecting a 200,000 gain. Instead, they lost 301,000 jobs. That is a flip-flop of about 500. Friday will be the big job numbers, non-farm payroll. But that is not good. Some of it is Omicron. Some of it is the ever-changing world that we're living in at this point in time with start-stops when it comes to business, supply chain, and people are learning how to make do with less. And so hiring back may not be something they're looking to do. Plus, we've got through the holiday season, and people aren't shopping as much. They see money is going to get more expensive. They're tightening down. Rents are rising continuously. There's a lot of things that play into this. And this is not something that they're going to be thrilled in. They're going to spin it as best as they possibly can. But you can't look at me at this point in time and think 100% that this is going to go really well at this moment in time when it comes to the economy. I think we're going to have more than a few bumps in the road. I think they're trying to brace themselves for that and hope that they can hold something steady and that these rates will slow some of the economy down so you'll start to see some parity when it comes to what we have right now, which is a pressure of buying when there's limited goods or housing or whatever it is. And because of that, prices are through the roof, and they're hoping that OPEC may do something. You're seeing inflation. There's a lot of stuff that they're hoping for, especially as we head into midterms, because as the economy goes stupid, I mean, that's it. Speaking of the economy, the Paycheck Protection Act. You guys remember that? Man, we got a lot of stuff wrong when it came to the way that we handled this. Not just us, but the entire world. But for us, we had the Paycheck Protection Act. So we've got a scorecard. Did it work? According to a new study. Yeah, kinda. But not really. Depending on where you read. Did it save jobs? Not many. Did it help some individuals? A little bit. Did it help businesses? Some. But at the end of the day, it was a lot of wasted money, and the focus was mostly on the largest small companies. It didn't do anything. They said it had very little effect in preserving jobs. Very little effect. Think about that. With 1 month of being approved, companies that got loans had an average head count 8% higher than comparable businesses that didn't. After 7 months, their workforces were 4% larger. And then as things started to bounce back, guess what happened? Didn't work like they thought. Some ventures that would have been forced out of business did stay alive. If businesses that received a loan from the program were 5.8% less likely to be closed 1 month after receiving the money, 3.5% less likely to be shut down after 7 months. But the cost of the business, the amount of money that was printed, in the end, didn't really do anything. And part of that is because we should never have been closed. But once again, once we start printing that kind of money, once we start seeing the things that we were seeing, stuff started to get more expensive. Stuff started to get more expensive. Inflation went up. And eventually, some of these companies just couldn't hang on. Once again, we tried to do something, and it was understandable at first. All that being said, we knew it wasn't working, and we continued to do it. Case in point, new analysis by Johns Hopkins University, of which I did a double, triple check to make sure they were a real, reputable university. Right? I wanted to make sure that this was not some fly-by-night company that nobody's ever heard of, right? Like Trump University or something like that. I want to make sure it was real. And apparently they are. 62-page study, or at least findings. And it was a meta research done about the lockdowns. Studies in applied economics, a literature review, a meta-analysis of the effects of the lockdown on COVID-19 mortality. What did they find? Didn't do anything. The lockdowns did absolutely nothing. And these weren't just studies from America. These were studies from the entire globe. They went and looked at every industrialized, advanced country, and they found that lockdowns did nothing. Their conclusion was not only did it didn't help, it made things far worse. It caused political division. People took the opportunity within the situation to advance their own political situations. And that at the end of the day, it was 0.2% is the only thing that came out of it as far as preventing deaths. 0.2%. Along the way, it caused not only division, political issues that include a weakening of democracies. It also caused financial issues that will take a long time, issues within the school world. It was a disaster. And the sad thing is, they knew about it. Johns Hopkins did a report, like several, both the WHO and Johns Hopkins and many of these other groups had come together over time and done several mock-ups of what might be the likely scenario should we ever have an outbreak. So, right, so like the movie Outbreak. So should something like that happen, what would be the likely scenario to take place? All of them in 3 different studies said the exact same thing. Lockdowns won't work. And they've never worked. And masking and certain policies they put in place, all of those things won't work yet. Well, all of them knew that. All of them continued to push narratives that went against it. And you wonder why people are frustrated. Now, they didn't take into account, and this is one of the things I would like to see, is the mental health aspect. The lost years where our children in school, things of that, to me, which are absolutely vital. But we all got it wrong, not just us. We sit here, we fight, and we argue, but it wasn't just us. Everybody got it wrong. And yes, there were opportunities for politicians to use it as a tool. Sad, sad, sad. And you know what? Today, politicians still using it as a tool, knowing full well that these things don't work, that this hasn't stopped anything, that none of this, it still doesn't matter. And the sheeple out there that buy it, sad too. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text said program. Got some text messages. Talk a bit about those. Brian Flores, the NFL, the lawsuit that may change a lot of things. Man, is this going to be something big? And it's getting uglier by the minute. We'll talk about that as well. The Olympics, the opening ceremonies are Friday, but they are underway right now. And people are still asking the question, why China? And what the hell are we doing there? Talk about that. Plenty of other good stuff. Longevity. People ask me all the time. I got home last night about 7:10. I left this morning at like 3:15. I was home for about 8 hours, which is pretty good for me because normally I'm up a little bit earlier and out of the house. I come in, I hit the ground running. Energy. Well, one of the big things is as I take the Healthy Body Start Pack from Longevity. Been taking it for a while. I start it in the morning. I take my Tangy Tangerine drink. It's got 90 essential nutrients and pre and probiotics. Helps me with energy. And oh, God, it's great. Then I got my Beyond Osteo, which got calcium and magnesium. And then the other thing I take that comes with it is the Ultimate EFA. And this helps with, it's got omega. It helps with like my brain and heart health. It's just awesome. But you understand that, like, I take supplements because I know that I'm missing out on some things. And for me, I want to live longer and be healthier, but I also need that energy. And the Healthy Body Start Pack from Longevity absolutely does that for me. Right now, go to ChadBensonHealth.com, save big, and get free shipping. That's ChadBensonHealth.com, ChadBensonHealth.com, or call 855-321-HEALTH. That's 855-321-HEALth. Get your Healthy Body Starter Pack. Get free shipping now. ChadBensonHealth.com. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
The Communist Torture Olympics get underway today with the games. The opening ceremonies will take place on Friday. Diplomatic boycotts everywhere. People just aren't coming. There's no snow. That's always weird when you have a Winter Olympics and there's no snow. They're making it, obviously. And it's, I see CNN, Jake Tapper, every night on his program, who is going to apparently do a spotlight of the insane, cruel, horrible human rights atrocities that China continues to do, all the while the games are going on there. And, of course, China is not backing down. Instead, it's everybody else's fault because, well, China.
China on the defense, squashing any criticism over its human rights record. A Beijing Olympic official warning athletes forms of protest could be subject to certain punishment. Human rights activists going as far as encouraging athletes to stay silent, saying the IOC can't be trusted to protect Olympians. Reports of Chinese officials also cracking down on dissent on its own people, jailing critics or confining them to their homes.
Yeah, the crackdown on any kind of freedoms, that includes Hong Kong, is just insane. We know that. And I was reading a great article, oddly enough, in the ESPN.com, talking about some of the stuff that the demands they wanted on the countries that were bidding for these games in particular. Norway was seen as the front runner, and Beijing was an outlier. Didn't really think they had a chance, but people started dropping out left, right, and center because they wanted access to the king in Norway. They wanted the king to do all these things. And if you guys don't know, if you host the games, you have to do all of these things for these muckety mucks, these clowns, these corrupt SOBs at the IOC. They get their own lane on the motorways and streets. They can pretty much do whatever they want. They're given all kinds of gifts, treated like royalty. It's a joke. It's a joke. And the fact that it's in China, again, shows you the absolute ridiculousness of the Olympics. You're not about championing any kind of spirit. You're not about championing anything other than your own pocketbooks. That's it. You're corrupt. UN, FIFA, who runs soccer, and the IOC, maybe the three most corrupt organizations on the planet. World Health Organization, you're sliding on in there. Just amazing. Just absolutely amazing. And the fact that we have games going on there and we've awarded them again, I'm not watching any of it because I don't care. Sorry. First of all, it's the Winter Olympics again. There's no NHL players there. Secondly, I just can't do it. I just can't. Not them. Sorry. It's just, I don't know how we do this. And the Qatar World Cup's going to be tough to watch this year. I love soccer. I love the World Cup. The fact that you're holding it in Qatar, where players will be roaming on brand new stadiums where there are dead people underneath because people who die there on the job site get buried there. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It is ugly for the NFL. Yesterday at this time, we're talking about Brady, his impact on the NFL, his impact on, the world that we live in, the love of the game, 22 years, the stuff that he did was amazing. Within hours, new stuff broke. Stuff that right now has the NFL, their butts puckering. If you thought the Washington, but just to let you guys know, I forgot to tell you, Washington's renamed their team finally. They're called the Commanders. Commanders? That's how memorable it is. It's one of those two. Commandos, Durs. Either way, it's awful. But they got trouble, remember? Earlier this year, they're investigating all the sexual harassment stuff. Was there hiring practices that were bad? Were there race issues? And then they got emails back and forth between their GM and then announcer, John Gruden, that were awful, racially insensitive, and lo and behold, boom, he's gone from the Raiders. Then you go back a few years and you got Colin Kaepernick. You go back after that and something that's still playing out with the concussions. But then the bombshell of Brian Flores. Coached the last 3 years in Miami under bizarre circumstances with an owner who apparently wanted him to lose games on purpose. But it really came to a head the other day when he got a text message from his good friend, Bill Belichick. For those of you guys who don't know, Brian Flores worked, I think, for 15 years for the Patriots. Him and Belichick are close. Belichick. Sounds like you've landed. Congrats. Did you hear something I didn't hear? Giants, ? I interview on Thursday. I think I have a shot at it. Got it. I hear from Buffalo and New York Giants, NYG, that you're their guy. Hope it works out for you if you want. That's definitely what I want, Coach. Are you talking to Brian Flores or Brian Dable? Oh. Brian Dable's the guy who got the job. Flores had not even interviewed. Belichick, sorry, I blanked this up. I double-checked. I misread the text. I think they're naming Dable. I'm sorry about that, BB. Insane. He hadn't even interviewed for the gig. And now he's filing a lawsuit. And it's going to get ugly. And he talked about stuff like, hey, the interview process. Because the interview process, for you, as you don't know, I'm going to break it down for you really quick. Keep it simple, stupid. Touched on it earlier briefly. The Rooney Rule. Rooney Rule is this. was put in place several years ago. God, it might be a decade or two. Essentially giving every team the marching orders. You guys have to at least interview one minority per vacancy. Head coaching, general manager, defensive coordinator, things of that nature. Now, you don't have to guarantee jobs. But what they want to do, it was several things. First of all, to get some people in there who, yes, you know what, it's time to give people a chance and that may be being overlooked. The second thing is guys who have a future at being a head coach, they're maybe not ready now, but it's that first step of taking that big interview, finding out what that entire process is like, which will help them when they are ready. He's already a coach. He doesn't need any of that. Today he went on CBS this morning. He was talking about this and the interviews, and I'm telling you, he's got every right to be pissed.
I know many very capable black coaches, some of my staff who I know, if given an opportunity or when given an opportunity, are going to go and do a great job on their interview. And I would just hate for that to be a waste.
Yeah. He also had other bombshells, they would say, accusations, including his former team, the Dolphins, and their owner asking him to lose games.
You know, that was a conversation about not doing as much as we needed to do to win football games. You know, take a flight, go on vacation. I'll give you $100,000 per loss. Like, those are just the, exact words.
That's not good. I'm sure they're going to fire back. The NFL's already filed back. They've said they categorically deny it. It's old white boys network for all intents and purposes. That's what it is. Some guys out there, you look at the some teams out there, right? Pittsburgh is the only one with a black head coach, Mike Tomlin. Longest tenured, I think, coach in the NFL right now, outside of Belichick. And he's never had a losing season. But the reality is you got a league that is predominantly black. And a lot of these guys aren't getting chances. You don't guarantee it. You can give chances all day long for interviews, but you do, at the end of the day, have to go with the best for what it is that you're looking for. But over the last several years, I've seen retreads when it comes to coaches that are getting their umpteenth chance. I've seen guys that you're thinking, who's this guy? And they do nothing. And you've got guys out there, Byron Leftwich. Everybody's looking at, when's Byron Leftwich going to get a chance? When's several of these guys who have opportunities that have, and some have coached. But this is not a good look for the NFL, especially when you've just considered, if you take into account the last several weeks of the NFL schedule that went down to the last day of the last game of the season to see who was going to be going to the playoffs in the last kick, to the most exciting probably 3 weeks we have seen, maybe in NFL history, and we're getting ready to host a Super Bowl in Los Angeles where the Rams will be playing in a $4 billion stadium, and then this comes out. He also talked about other opportunities that he went to for interviews, one of which was allegations against the Denver Broncos, who, by the way, are up for sale right now, and they'll cost you a cool $4 billion to get them.
I've had 9 interviews with NFL clubs. There's been one interview where anyone was late. And it wasn't me that was late. It was the interviewers who were late. That was with the Broncos. I think there was a reason why they were late. I think they were they had been out the night before. I think that's the reason why.
Yeah, he's trying to put it nicely. Well, let's just say, how should we say this in a nice way? That Elway was drunk. A lot of accusations, and you got to prove them, but it's not a good look for the NFL. It isn't. Be very interesting to see where this thing goes, but it's an ugly situation in a time when we got Whoopi Goldberg with issues with race. You've got now, people coming after Joe Rogan because now he's a racist, and on top of all of the other insanity that people are throwing. And some things are ridiculous. You're like, with Joe Rogan, just move on. Stop it. Enough. You're trying to cancel him because you guys suck. And by that, I mean, like, a lot of the major media. We'll touch on that in a second. But the Whoopi thing, teaching moment, opportunity. But somebody like Brian Flores has taken a huge flyer in the sense that this is what he loves to do. You're getting ready to sue not one, but 32 teams and the organization that represents them. And then he said this today.
I'm hopeful that I will. I'm very hopeful. But I understand the risks of filing a lawsuit like this.
He's hopeful to coach again. Maybe college. Be tough, I think, in the NFL. Somebody might take a flyer on him. He's a good coach. Guys play for him. Never give up. Even when the Dolphins sucked that one year. Which is normally but you know what I mean. They even when they were really bad at the beginning, they played hard. They never gave up. Oh, NFL, you got some splaining to do. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Jeff Zucker is out at CNN, the vaunted, amazing news guy who drove CNN straight into the ground with his hatred of Trump. He's out because of, first of all, you should be out because your programming sucks. It's awful. It's completely biased. But you pretend like it's not. And did I mention it's awful? And never is that more apparent than this little ditty here. From Kate Rosenfeld. She's a culture writer. And she was on with Brian Stelter, who, again, he's awesome, isn't he? Nobody watches Brian Stelter. People just hear things that he says because radio shows talk about him. But literally nobody watches him. Listen to the contempt and anger in her voice talking about Joe Rogan. And how frustrated they are. 2-3 years ago, I said, cable television, you guys are all worried about fighting each other. You guys need to look and find out what's going on in YouTube. You guys need to look and find out that your competition is a podcast. Your competition is a YouTuber. Your competition isn't each other anymore because people are leaving. And they're leaving in droves because they're going to places where they're getting the things that they're looking for, not the things you want them to hear. Listen to the contempt in her voice about Rogan and the fact that he's still on.
Kat, you wrote on Twitter about Spotify. You went viral for a comment, viral about it yesterday. Tell us your point of view first about this Spotify mess, because it's really dominated the week.
Yeah, what I think is interesting about the backlash against Spotify vis-a-vis Joe Rogan is that people are fundamentally angry about not being able to stop his audience from wanting news that is bad for them, wanting something that's bad for them. So, we're all haunted by the specter of this guy who's listening to Joe Rogan and internalizing this bad information and making bad choices as a bad choice result.
You're haunted by it. You're frustrated by the fact that you can't stop his audience from taking in stuff, from having conversations, from listening to a point of view that you guys don't prescribe. And because of that, you feel that, the frustration. Why can't we stop him? Because you can't. Because at the end of the day, he's giving people the things that they want. And while you focus on a singular thing, or misinformation here, just whatever it is that you're focusing on that is ridiculous, go and look at the archives of stuff, who's on there, and what they're talking about. It is a potpourri of everything you can think of. You asshats. And at the top of it is entertainment. which you forget is part of what the gig is. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. MyPillow has Giza Dream Sheets. They're on sale right now. Huge, massive discount. Plus 60-day money-back guarantee and 10-year warranty. And they are the cheapest they've ever been. You got to take advantage of this and all of the other deep discounts that MyPillow has. The MyPillow itself, the mattress topper, the slippers, the towels, you name it, they have it. But the Giza Dream Sheets are on sale at the deepest discounts. If you want the best sheets that you're ever going to sleep in, it is these. And I love my Giza Dream Sheets. You will as well. Get this and all the other products at MyPillow.com. Use the promo code Benson. It's MyPillow.com, promo code Benson to save big. MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. Get them now. Chad Benson Show.
Podcasts are American as hot dogs, apple pie, football, and sushi.
Oh, my goodness. No.
Okay, maybe not sushi. Next time you have a craving for something sweet and tangy, download a Chad Benson Show podcast.
Boy, that is good. It's different because you get a little bit of saltiness. It's so good because it's sweet and salty at the same time.
Get a taste on iTunes, iHeart, or Spotify and binge to your ears' content.
Oh, yeah.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
Rockers, rollers, and rappers. Eminem among the nominees for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year, along with Pat Benatar, Judas Priest, Dolly Parton, and A Tribe Called Quest.
This is a really creative collective of people who pushed hip-hop forward.
Jason Hanley there with the Rock Hall. Some of the selections will no doubt spark that debate. What defines rock? Hanley says hip-hop's place in the hall is set.
Tribe Called Quest is kind of the next logical extension of some of the bands that have already gotten in, or artists who have gotten in.
Yeah, you know, it's like the Basketball Hall of Fame, right? The Naismith Basketball. It's not the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. It's music. It should be the Music Hall of Fame, which encapsulates everything. I'm interested in Duran Duran. I'm interested. It's very interesting with them. As a kid growing up, came through that new wave, that second British invasion, right? You had all these bands, and you know, you got Depeche Mode. You had, you know, Flock of Seagulls, and you had the ska influence of stuff, and you know, all of these other, some pretty, the Culture Club and things of that nature. Duran Duran was interesting because they were models, it looked like, and at the same time they were musicians, and sometimes the looks overdid that.
They definitely have that 80s production polish on them. But I think what's in this sort of reevaluation in the last couple of years of Duran Duran is just how good of a band they really were. And yes, they were on the cover of Tiger Beat. And yes, they also wrote and performed really great songs. And I think if you can handle both sides of Duran Duran, you know, this sort of duplicity of Duran Duran, yes, pop icons, yes, incredible musicians, well, then you really got a really good argument to vote for them in this ballot.
Devo's on there as well. And this lady, which she should absolutely be in.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living, barely getting by. It's all taking and no giving.
Yep, Dolly is nominated. Beck as well. Carly Simon, Judas Priest, just name a few. So it'll be very interesting to see who gets in on this one. Some of them I already thought was in, including, I mean, I look around, I'm thinking, how are, you know, like, I thought for sure some of these people, because you go in there, you're like, Rage is not in there, and it's just, you don't always get on your first gig, right? Beck's also there. So, Lionel Richie, I thought he was already in there. He might be in there with the Commodores, I'm not sure. But this is him on his own, so it'll be very interesting. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter tweet, text. Love hearing from you. Solid, fun day. We got you over the hump. It was woke at times, but we tried to drive through all the insanity and get you to where you needed to be. You guys have a blessed rest of your day. We will do it again tomorrow. As always, night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.